now. And we'll audio in 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the rehearsal podcast for the week of April 28. We are 321 Improv Comedy. Jeremy is right there in Oklahoma, manning the controls, ready to go. Mike is apparently in his car or somebody else's car in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm. Don't tell them. Don't tell anybody.
It's just pick a random car, have a meeting. I'm Carl down here in Florida, and this week we have a special guest with us. That right there is Bryan Drake coming to you live from Mobile, Alabama, right?
The big vista of Mobile, Alabama. That's right.
Ooh.
We have done many shows together. Bryan Drake is what are we doing? Magician, illusionist, what?
Yeah, whatever doesn't scare people away, honestly.
Sorcerer.
What is the difference?
Yeah,
sorcerer.
That
would scare. Yeah, I don't think you want to go there. Sorcerer. What is the difference between a magician and an illusionist?
So traditionally, there's an actual difference that doesn't involve the dark arts. Traditionally, an illusionist was someone who used big props, human-sized props, like sawing people in half. That was an illusionist. And then a magician was somebody who would do sleight of hand, coin tricks, card tricks, cups and balls and such. So there used to be an actual difference. Now it's just you're the devil.
Now it's kind of all blended together.
Right, yeah.
Do you have people walk out of your show sometime because it's just too weird for them? They can't handle it?
I got letters before, even though like the first words in the show are, "Hey, everything you're about to see is fake. It's not real," right? And then we share the gospel, all that. But then we'll get letters. Yeah, we've gotten long, like back when Facebook was just like this narrow, the actual messenger. I got one that was like, it was probably a good 3 feet long, about how I desecrated the altar of the Lord. I was like,
oh boy,
wow! I didn't even think that was possible.
That's going pretty far. I mean, you do the crazy magic stuff though, right? Like the audience picks a random number at the beginning of the show, and then a delivery guy shows up with a watermelon. You crack the watermelon open with a machete, and there's like a talking frog in there who spiels off the original number. Like, it's crazy stuff.
It is, yeah, and sometimes that talking frog will actually be dressed like Jeremy. It's even weirder. Like I don't even know what he's wearing that day, but it's impressive.
It's a side
gig.
Where
do these ideas come from? You like wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, "Oh, I got it, talking frog."
It is funny that you say that, but there was one of our effects came from a fever dream where I literally could not sleep, and I was like, let's do this, and then.
That's how most of our improv show works, actually. So
I'm pretty sure
we get it. Yeah,
usually,
we wake up and we're like.
Usually starts with an illness of some kind.
Yeah. There are times when I'm wondering, like, if you guys think, how can I work in the words unicorn seal at the same time? Like, is there a way to do that?
All right. Well, we got some questions for Bryan we want to get into, but we've got a couple of things that we do often here on the podcast. One is This Week in History. So I want to show you how this works, Bryan. Mike grew up with a presidential placemat. Every morning at breakfast, he ate his breakfast over a placemat that had all the presidents on it. We've learned now that his daughter has a first lady placemat.
That's right.
He's now expanding his horizons. He's got the presidents down. Now he's learning the first ladies. How far have you got on that project, Mike?
I got Martha Washington and Abigail Adams and Mrs. Jefferson.
Every time we ask this question, it's still just those three that he's got.
Yep.
Have you moved to like Dolly Madison or Lady Bird Johnson? Those are easy to remember. One of them was cupcakes and the other one was Lady.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
The recent ones ought to be.
Yeah. No, my repertoire is expanding.
You're learning a lot more than you're letting us know, Mike. So we have a little bit of presidential trivia for you today. Mike, in 1822, the 18th president of the United States was born this week in history. Who is that person?
Oh boy, this seems like a slam dunk for someone who has had that whole intro to this segment.
I've got a hint. Want a hint.
I'm going to go with Ulysses S. Grant.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at that guy.
Way to go. Born in Moscow, Ohio. I didn't know there was a Moscow, Ohio.
Moscow,
yes.
Ohio.
Yeah.
The mother country. I hail from Ohio.
We're hitting all of Mike's strengths, presidents and Russian accents.
That's right. Join me for my podcast.
I don't know. The fact that he's big into Russian accents and he knows a lot about presidents, I'm starting to think he's a spy, like a leftover Cold War
Could be.
cell.
Don't tell anybody.
If I was a spy, would I be doing a podcast from a mobile unit?
From a
Maybe.
car somewhere in New Hampshire.
Maybe.
Hey, what's out of the? Is that a
Don't
steering
look
wheel?
back. Don't look
Yeah, I was
back
about to
there.
say.
Yep. All right, I gotta go, guys. I've been compromised.
Another interesting piece of news that I found out that happened this week in history. In 1997, at exactly 12:11 p.m., London's iconic Big Ben clock stopped ticking for 54 minutes.
Wow.
Who knew?
What caused it?
So did we lose an hour in our day?
Well, in honor of that happening back in 1997, since it's just after 12:11 p.m. Eastern time here, we're going to provide 54 minutes of silence also. What do you think?
54 minutes.
It'll be great, right?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Shut it down.
It
and stay here
starts
for
right
50
after the podcast is over.
Yeah, just right.
Yes. So, Brian, when this podcast is done, stay right there next to your bed for
Like
54
this.
minutes in silence, and then we'll check back with you at the end.
Not
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
He started already.
I'm actually in Central Time, so mine will be even different.
Well, and I guess
I'm pretty
there's
sure
probably-
Big Ben's in Eastern time too, right? So
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just really realizing I messed up my time zones anyway, since Big Ben's across the pond.
We are saying Big Bend, Kentucky, right? B-E-N-D. Is that what we're talking
yeah.
Oh, this went so well. I heard a rumor that the reason the clock stopped ticking is it was all part of a master illusion by Brian Drake. Can
It
you
was.
tell us if that is true or not?
Yeah, when I was in 6th grade in 1997, it was actually my goal. I just finished watching Monday Nitro on the WCW, and so that's, I'm trying to think of all the 1997 things I can throw in here.
Nice.
No, and
Blockbuster.
yeah, there we go.
Nice. This sounds like one of those times when we reminisce to all of Jeremy's sports knowledge that comes from Space Jam.
It's true.
If
a
he
lot.
ever mentions a basketball player to you, it's because he found out about it on Space Jam.
It's like, so what's Charles Barkley up to now? Is he
Or
is he still doing stuff?
NBA Jam.
Oh,
There you go.
oh,
That's
right.
He's
right.
on
Got a
fire.
bigger roster.
Mhm.
Yeah, the best one was Muggsy Bogues. He dropped Muggsy Bogues out of nowhere, and I'm like, how do you know that?
You know that?
He was an NBA Jam. He played with Larry Johnson.
Yeah. What are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
you remember Kukoc? He was a good player. Like, yeah, only because
You remember when their
pick him.
sneakers would catch on fire and you'd flip halfway across the court and dunk the ball?
That's based in real life, actually.
Yeah.
All right, we've done multiple shows together. We have memories. I think we need to bring up some of the moments that we spent together. Everybody think about memories. We spent a little time together last year in December. We had some incredible moments. So think about it. It's going to take Jeremy a minute there. My first memory is, I'm going to take you guys back. We were in Greenford, Ohio, right up there by Youngstown. We're all in a minivan together, rolling up to a church. The pastor's coming out of the church to meet us, and we had something blaring on the stereo. Was it Sister Christian?
It was
Sister Christian.
And we're rocking out in our
It was the
minivan, and the
pickle.
pastor comes out to greet us and kind of looks at us like, what have we gotten ourselves into here?
That's right. That was the pickle.
the pickle,
Oh, right, there was the pickle.
the greatest
There's a radio
station of all
station
time.
up there in Youngstown or Pittsburgh called the Pickle, and they did not use any of the puns we would have expected them to use.
Yeah.
Oh yes. You're home for Vlasic Rock.
Right? It's so easy.
Yeah, they were. It was awkward because they were purposely swerving away from any of them. It was like,
Yeah.
they weren't even saying like it's a jar of fun. Nothing at all. Like, I mean, not even trying. And so
Yeah, they wanted to be really serious.
Yeah, they were like, no, we're the pickle because you guys are obviously in a sticky situation in life, and we want to help you out with that. Like, what are you doing?
Missed opportunities.
The Pickle, that was so good. Any other memories from our time together in December?
I just want to
There was
ask Brian if you have experience with stickiness. I was wondering why that was.
Pickles, you're in a jar, and my kids, everything is sticky to my kids. I just cleaned up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay, that checks out. That checks out.
Always sticky.
If you're in a sticky situation, you're also in a pickle.
There we go.
Thank you. That's where I was going. But because they play it so straight, they didn't want to use the word pickle in a non-ironic way.
Right.
Ironic
There
way.
we go. All right, cool. I just want to clarify. So,
I
other
remember
memories.
Snowball fight.
That's my big memory.
A 4-hour snowball fight.
We were filming some videos to promote some Christmas shows that we were doing, and we had an epic snowball fight with fake little
It was like cotton.
snowballs.
Well, it was like this much cotton, but due to movie magic, we were able to make it look like it was a whole lot more. And it was their Christmas decorations.
But it's hard to throw it because cotton doesn't fly.
It would just kind of go.
I love the spot. Jeremy was meticulous about setting up the camera, getting the angles right. We had a tripod like propped against a piece of furniture or something. Everything set perfect. And then Bryan comes flying out of nowhere doing like a shoulder roll across the stage. The whole stage moves. The camera's shaking.
It looks like a war zone.
It was.
Yeah.
As is any snowball fight.
Typically, yeah. I mean, I've seen Elf. I know how that goes.
Do you remember the beverage we were searching for when we were there outside of Youngstown, Ohio, stopping at every convenience store? Do you
I feel like
remember
there were two.
Well,
Oh, you're right.
The holiday.
The cranberry Sprite, right?
Cranberry Sprite.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you were looking for a certain type of monster. It had to be black
yeah,
or
well,
white.
yeah.
Or, it was
Yeah,
something really
that's
pretentious. I can't remember.
That's always the case. I'm always
That's
looking.
every weekend.
That's
I'm
every
always
weekend.
looking for the ultra monsters, of course. But yeah, that was the holiday version, the cranberry Sprite.
Did you ever find it?
I never found it, Mike. Didn't you find it somewhere, Mike?
No, I didn't.
I remember how the whole story wrapped up. We were all searching for it together. We were searching for it individually when we went home. Finally, I got a text from Bryan that had a picture of it. And I'm like, "Ooh, where did you find it?" And he said, it was at Target here in Mobile, but you know, we're kind of fancy here. So I didn't know that the Target in Mobile, I guess in everything in Mobile, is
It's
fancier than
upscale.
other places.
Oh, absolutely. The Target is kind of where you go when you want a nice upscale date with your wife. You know, you just kind of
Right.
wander.
Like they
What
got
you
that
got
little
to-
food court in the front.
Yeah.
You go out there.
You guys having the tomahawk steak tonight? No, not us. We're having Lunchables as we walk up and down the toy aisle.
That is fancy. Welcome to
That's how we-
Mobile.
That's it, man. When you come here, we will show you a good time.
Well, let's go back to the beginning for a minute. I want to hear the story of like the first magic trick that you did and like the first show you did. What did
Sure.
that look like?
So we got started. Carl and I, we've been on the road for 13 years now. So back in 2007, we had our first show, and I had
And
only
you said Carla, your wife.
Yeah.
Not,
right.
Not
Yeah.
Carl. Not Carl.
not Carl. Carl.
So Carl and I started
Right.
way
I
back.
have been to Mobile. I noticed that it was very fancy and
It's
realized
fancy.
I don't belong here.
You got to have a certain class for Mobile. I'm telling you.
So how long have you and Carla been married?
13 years this July. So we got married
Nice.
that same year. We did our first set of shows. Basically, our church had gone to a youth camp in 2006, and I went to chaperone. I was just showing card tricks. I had just gotten into doing this, and the camp guy, I showed him a trick. Somehow I just got to meet him and talk to him for a second. Well, he comes to our church randomly to do a youth kind of revival sort of thing in the spring. In the middle of the sermon, because he's kind of ADD like that. He's just kind of like looks up mid-sermon. He goes, "Hey, aren't you that guy with the card tricks?" Yes, I am. And so he's like, "I want to talk to you afterwards." And I was like, "Well, this is incredibly awkward. I should have been like, why don't we just talk about it now? Why don't we just discuss it, you and me, now that we're having this conversation?" But anyway, he invites us to come do their entire 8-week of camps. Now, we had never done a show before, so he didn't need to know that necessarily because we were trying to get booked, And so we crammed every single trick we could even think of into this kind of like practice show to get ready for it. We crammed a 1-hour show full of 3 hours worth of stuff, and it was absolutely terrible. I still have footage from that camp. It was horrible. In fact, to tell you how horrible it was, I've gotten to be some friends with some youth pastors and stuff over in different places around the country since we've been touring. And one of them said, "Wait a minute, your first show was in the summer of 2007, 2008, or whenever it was. He's like, we were at that camp. It's like, I remember that. He said, dude, if you'd have told me that back in the day, I would never have booked you. I was like, well, thank you. I'm glad to know we left an indelible mark. So
you've shown some improvement over the last 13 years then, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, just a modicum, I guess, but
And so where did the ministry aspect come from? Like, did you see that at the beginning? Like, this could be a way for me to talk about Jesus with people, or did that come later? How did that happen?
Yeah, it was kind of almost the main impetus. I had first gotten started just by doing card tricks for fun, but I was a junior high youth pastor at my church at the time, and I would force them to watch tricks on Wednesday night because they couldn't leave. And so it didn't matter how good or how bad the trick was. They were a captive audience, literally and figuratively. So, well, not literally. I mean, we are different in the South, but not quite that different. But and so there are a lot of just really easy parallels from especially a prediction trick, right? The idea that what if I have a prediction, like you mentioned earlier with the frog, what if that had been wrong, right? Well, it's not impressive. The only way you're impressed is because there are infinite wrong answers, but there's only one right answer. And that concept clicked so easily, naturally, that we kind of built our show around the message. But our big thing is, and I know you guys are like this too, is while we're ministry minded, and that's my main focus, we also never want to compromise on the art that we love so much, and so kind of being excellent at both things, trying to build those towers equally is kind of our fun challenge that we have. So
yeah. And I'm sure it's the same for you with us. There's so many conversations come up after a show where the performance on stage simply opens the door for you then to be able to have conversations with people about what's going on in their life. That's the cool part.
And then they say you desecrated the altar of God here today.
Yeah, it's either love or hate. I mean, there's no middle ground there.
You're all excited thinking, ooh, this person wants to talk to me and tell me what a great job I did, and then they drop that on you.
Yeah, I see the first line, Bryan, I was at your show last night. Oh, this is going to be good, I guess. Oh, never mind. Apparently I'm a pagan.
Jeremy does a magic show every show that we do. In the middle, when we're doing our merch pitch and showing people, he makes T-shirts disappear. He makes games disappear. It's pretty impressive. He has threatened before that he's going to leave 3-2-1 and travel full-time doing magic.
Right.
That hasn't happened yet. Are you still waiting for an offer, Jeremy, or what's going on there?
I mean, last week I showed Gresham what I could do. I think that speaks for itself.
Right.
Bad timing on that.
That's probably going to take off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, if you ever need, if Carl is not available and you need an assistant, we would be happy to loan Jeremy out. He'd do a great job. Yeah.
To be clear, were we saying Carl or Carl at that time too? I'm still not.
What are the most frequent questions that you get asked after a show? People come up to talk to you out in the lobby, at the table. What are the things people ask the most?
Usually, like they'll tell me, I think I know how you did that. Whatever trick it was, and their explanation is it's either one of two things. It's either they're very, very, very close to the method, but we just lie anyway and tell them they're not. But the other thing is it's so out of the box and like completely not possible what they're suggesting, but they know that that's how it worked. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
if I could do what you're suggesting, I would just make money. I would just print it. You know what I'm saying? It would just happen.
Yeah. When they go, I've got it figured out. You actually levitated.
Yeah. It's just, you really did desecrate the altar of the Lord. That's how it works.
I assume a lot of people ask about your hair. We don't get to see it today with the hat on. And it looks like, did you get a haircut?
Well, it's not. It's just kind of slicked back because I've given up and let things go. But no,
because normally it's quite tall.
Yeah, that's
you're already tall.
Question. I'm 6'5" plus the mohawk hair. So
yeah,
that's
so like
the normal
6'9" with the hair.
Yeah.
I figure I need to intimidate people.
Oh, is that what it's? That's what it is. It's a fear factor.
Yeah, they will not try to guess how things work that way.
All right, this is really why we brought you here today, Bryan. We need to talk about your merch table.
Yes.
So the first time, Mike, Jeremy, do you have any comments about the first time we saw your merch table was in Mackinac Island, Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
and we've got some comments. So and maybe it's changed since then. I'm not sure. But what were your opinions, you guys, when you first saw the merch
Well,
table?
let's just say the desecration didn't stop at the altar. It also extended to the merch table.
It was organized in a way that I could only describe as, oops, I dropped it.
There was a lady volunteering to help you. At one point, you were on stage or somewhere doing a sound check, and the ladies out at the table, and somebody came and wanted to buy a shirt. They're like, "Ooh, that's a nice shirt. I'd like to buy one of those." She hauled out a garbage bag from underneath the table, started rifling through to find the right size. Oh, it was so great. We're like, what are we thinking with all this organization on our table? Apparently, you can just dump it out there.
Just it's efficiency is really the key, not aesthetics.
I see.
Just saying. Oddly enough, we lost part of our backdrop at that show, so we don't have that backdrop anymore.
Oh, really?
We can't put it up. Yeah, we have.
We're sorry about that.
Like somebody, Jeremy with a confession.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think he
what
was
happened?
Trying to like, do better, Brian. Is what that was.
What does lost mean? Like somebody took it, or it fell off the horse and carriage on the island, or
it's happened twice. So both times, because it was 2 feet. Now you can prop it up with 1 foot and just the pole. It worked. But this was the second time. So the foot, we're taking it apart, and it's kind of that unhelpful help thing where people are like, "Oh, can I help you tear down?" And I'm like, "I'd rather you not, because you're going to lose stuff." But I don't tell them. So yeah, sure, you can help. And of course, what happens is we're packing up, and whoever was helping us, he said, "Hey, I got your backdrop right here." It's like, great. I didn't check it. That's my fault. We get to the next show, and I'm putting it up. There are no feet for this backdrop, so I'm just kind of leaning against the wall. I was like, how did this happen? So I call the convention center there, and I was like, "Hey, in this specific area, did anybody leave and I described it's a big metal piece with a big thing sticking up out, and they're
looks like
no.
a foot.
Like a foot. And they're like, "No, I haven't seen anything like that." I'm like, well, someone has. It's not a normal piece of equipment. Like, it's not just like, oh yeah, that's probably somebody's toothpick there. No, I was like, lost forever. And
you still seem pretty emotional about this.
I'm a little salty about it because there's no reason. Because both times that happened, that's what happened. I called and they were like, "No, I have no clue what that is."
I don't know.
Throw it away by accident. That's probably a pizza box.
Well, I know what will calm you down from all of that frustration. It's a segment we call Brian Drake Plays I'm Weird the Game. Did you know we have games, Brian? I'm contractually obligated to show people that we have not only I'm Weird the Game, but now the new Crew Clue. Both are available at 321improv.com/store. There you go, Gresham. Got it all in.
Did Carl say Crew Clue?
He did.
Let's play back the tape.
What did I say?
Oh,
You said Crew Clue.
Crew.
There it is. That's
Either way, if you go to 321improv.com/store, there's only one that's anywhere close to that name that you can buy.
Yeah,
I don't know. He said Crew Clue. This says Clue Crew. That must not be it.
I guess I'll go buy something from Brian Drake. What does his online store look like? Just a pile of stuff?
It's like one of those word search things. It's basically that on a page.
Yeah.
All right.
I like that the segment is called Brian Drake Plays Unweird, even though, like, what do you do when I'm not here? Is it still called?
It's been awkward. It's been awkward before this. It finally makes sense.
Yeah. Last week when Gresham was here, he was like, "Brian's not even here." We're like, "Hey, that's what the segment's called. Leave us alone." All right. I'm not sure if you've played I'm Weird the Game before, but we will walk you through it. I think you're going to be great at it. Guys, Brian needs a musical instrument. Can you name one for him, please?
The theremin.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, yes. A very popular musical instrument, the theremin. He needs something inflatable.
A beach ball.
A beach ball and a theremin, and something square.
Carl's fashion.
How about a Trisket?
Okay. So Carl's fashion, a theremin, and a beach ball. You must
Carl's
use
fashion.
those.
It is.
You have to use those three. So you're going to use a theremin and a beach ball.
A theremin?
Yeah.
Jeremy, you want to give an impersonation of a theremin?
Yeah. A theremin is an electronic box type thing that uses frequencies, and you insert your hand and
Oh,
interrupt
yeah.
the frequencies,
Yeah.
and it goes.
Yeah, there's a museum.
Yeah. There you go.
Like
Yeah, it
that.
makes like that science fiction-y sort of sound.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. And
Which
Celtic
is gonna
bands have
which is
these
gonna
sometimes.
come in great. I'm reading ahead, but this is gonna work out well. Theremin, a beach ball, and Carl's fashion. Now
Mhm.
we take the next card, we flip it over, and right there it says, use these items to share a 1-minute scary story.
Ooh.
Well,
Here we go. Brian Drake plays I'm Weird the game. A theremin, a beach ball, and Carl's fashion to share a
Brian
1-minute
Drake.
scary story.
all right, we ready?
Ready.
Okay, so while my family and I were traveling the last year in Orange Beach, Alabama, we happened to have a beach ball in the back of the car, and I went to look for it as the kids went up to the hotel. I was like, "Hey, honey, I'll go blow up this beach ball." I go to open the back of the trunk, and all of a sudden, I hear this sound like. Turns out the TV of the neighbor was on next to it, but then I looked down at my feet, and there was a bloody theremin, the worst kind of theremin you want to find. That bloody theremin, I picked it up. It didn't even work anymore. And all of a sudden, I noticed it had a name just scratched on the bottom of it. I looked, and it said Carl Crispin. So I called up Carl. Turns out Carl had been dead at this point of the story. This is a fake story. For 30 years. However, because it was 30 years later, and that would have been the 1980s, he showed up wearing this suit with the shoulder pads and everything like that. I was like, dude, why are you dressed like that? He's like, it's hip to be square.
Got it.
That's
There you go.
fantastic.
That was, and now it's been a minute. There we go. A little
Perfect.
short, a little bit short.
55.
He
It's
left
close.
room. He left room for the applause at the end for everybody
right.
to
There
go
we go.
crazy at the story. Yeah, you gotta fit that in. Well
I like-
done.
I like the clarification that this is a fake story.
Yeah.
That was important.
Carl is, in fact, alive.
Disclaimer: Carl is alive. It's
No
okay.
Carls were injured in the making up of this story.
That's right.
Are you saying Carl or Carla? I don't know. I still
At this point, we don't even know.
This- Mike, and get a speaker in that car. Your sound apparently is awful.
interesting.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us. That was fun to catch up. And if you
it's great.
find any more of the cranberry Sprite in the fancy Target there in Mobile, if you could send some our way, since we have not been able to have it yet, that'd be great. Maybe by next Christmas, we
It'll
can
be
find the
fermented
cranberry
by
Sprite.
then.
Well, we're glad to have you here. We enjoy getting to spend some time with you on the road. Hopefully, we'll get to be out there with you again sometime soon. And we love what you do. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Love hanging out with y'all.
All right, that's all the time we have for this week. We appreciate everybody being a part of the 321 podcast. We are 321 Improv, three Christian guys combined into one ministry, all to bring glory to the one who makes it all possible. Be sure to keep up with us on social media at 321 Improv, and we will talk to you again next week. This podcast ends in 3, 2, 1.
But not the recording.
This is the fun part now, Brian, where the video podcast people are still watching, but the audio podcast, that one has ended.
You're done.
They're gone. They don't even know we're still here. But
They're
the
like,
people
well, I guess
watching
we're
on
over.
video, they get a
So
little
keep your
bonus
shirt on,
time.
Brian. We're still live.
Oh.
Oh, man.
And now we'll turn this off. Goodbye.
Yeah.